Very good morning, dear children. This video is for class 10 subject science chapter number 8, that is how do organisms reproduce, and this lecture is regarding the assignment 1 solutions. So children, the post text assignment that was given to you was having question number 1 as write in brief about chromosomes, DNA and genes, and how are they interrelated? This also to be told. So children, let us talk about the chromosomes first. What are chromosomes? Chromosomes are thread-like structures which are made up of one molecule of DNA which is wound around the proteins. Proteins that supports the structure of DNA. And these proteins are called as histones. Chromosomes are located inside the nucleus. Chromosomes are so small in size that they are not even visible under the microscope. They are attached with the DNA. So only when the cell division takes place, at that time when DNA is being copied, only then chromosomes are visible under the microscope. If we talk of the structure of the DNA, as I told you that it is a thread-like structure, and this thread-like structure is having this kind of a shape. So these portions are basically the thread-like structures, and here we have a constriction, and this is called as centromere of the chromosome. Then here these two are the arms. One will be the shorter and another will be the longer. So the long arm, so this one is the longer arm, it will be called as Q arm, and the short arm is called as P arm. Further, these chromosomes are further connected with the DNAs, and a part of DNA forms the genes. The next in the series that we have is DNA. DNA, it stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. So as the name itself suggests that the DNAs, they are present in the nucleus. Basically, most of the DNAs, they lie inside the nucleus, but some of them, they also lie in the mitochondria of the cell. And DNAs, they carry the hereditary material in almost all the organisms. In DNAs, as they carry the genetic information, this genetic information is stored in the form of 4 chemical bases. And these 4 bases are adenine, guanine, cytosine and thymine. Adenine always pairs up with thymine and guanine always pairs up with cytosine. So by making a pair between these 4 chemical bases, like A will form the pair with T and G will form the pair with C. So along with these 4 bases, or one base pair, along with it one sugar molecule and one phosphate molecule is attached. And these 3, they together are called as nucleotide. So whenever one chemical base pair is there, sugar is there, phosphate is there, together these 3 are called as nucleotide. More than 3 billion bases, and out of them 99% information, or the pair of bases or the sequence which is being stored in a DNA is same in almost all the people. But only 1% changes. Because of this 1% changes, the organisms have variations. And you can imagine that if the 1% variation is done, then how are the traits, characteristics of the organisms are being transferred with a variation to the next offsprings. So basically the DNA carries some of the base pairs. Along with them, sugar and phosphate groups are also there, and the sequence in which these base pairs are attached, this makes all the possibilities, or it makes a blueprint or a base for the formation of a new individual. So it carries the genetic informations and it carries the traits of the organism, and with the help of creating a copy of DNA, the traits are passed to the next generation. If we talk of the structure of DNA, then DNA, it may be a two-strand this structure, and in this two-strand design, here we will be having a pairing of the either of the two base pairs. And for example, if here we have A, then here for sure will be T. If here we have C, then here we will have the G. So in this fashion, they are arranged in a helical structure. This is how the DNA is formed. The next is genes. So genes are basically the basic physical and functional units of heredity. That means the basic heredity, or you can say the genetic information, is carried in the genes, and these genes are actually they are made up of DNAs, or the deoxyribonucleic acid. And what is present in the DNA? It is the base pairs of chemicals. So gene size can be starting from the 100 DNA bases till 2 million bases. This much can be the size of a gene. So gene is basically related to a particular kind of characteristic of the organism. So DNA, as genes are made up of DNAs, so genes are basically a part of DNA. Question number 2 is, how do variations help in survival of species? Variation means the changes that comes while producing the offsprings of the same kind. These variations, they are helpful for maintaining the stability of the species. It also helps to adapt the species to the environmental changes. Then the next importance of variations is that only because of variations there is a development of new characteristics in the offsprings. Question number 3 is, how do fission mode of reproduction is different than the fragmentation? If we compare fission and fragmentation, fission is a method of reproduction which generally takes place in unicellular organisms, whereas fragmentation takes place in simple multicellular organisms. Fission process is a process of cell division by which the organism reproduces. But in the fragmentation, the organism divides into several parts and then each part regrows into the complete organism. So here the cell division takes place and then the separation of the two cells takes place, or the daughter cells are formed. But here first the organism gets divided into several parts and then the fragments or the parts, they regrow and form the complete organism. In the fission, we can have the example of amoeba and paramecium, and in fragmentation, we can have the example of Spirogyra. Question number 4 is, why is regeneration important for living beings? So children, as we know that regeneration is a process of developing the lost body parts. The lost parts which are being removed or being cut or lost by some accident or injury to the organism, those parts are regrown or redeveloped. That process is called as regeneration. So, regeneration is important for living beings, as here in the process, if the part of the organism is getting lost, then only a few they have this characteristic, then they can redevelop or regenerate that part. So, this helps in decreasing the difficulties happening to the living organism, which can be with the organism because of the loss of that part. So, regeneration helps to fill all those shortcomings. Regeneration is important for all kind of living beings, including human beings. For example, liver can be regenerated. So whenever there is some damage or some loss in the parts of liver, then liver can generate and regrow the damaged parts. So this is very helpful for us. Question number 5 is, why do fission, fragmentation and vegetative propagation methods of reproduction not work for higher organisms like reptiles, birds and mammals? Children, fission, fragmentation and vegetative propagation are the methods of reproduction obtained by the organisms which are either unicellular or simple multicellular structures. Because here in fission what happens, then one cell gets divided into two and then further the division of the cells takes place, because of that reproduction happens. So here in the fragmentation, a complete organism divides into several fragments and then each fragment regenerates the complete organism. So here the formation of new individual is taking place by regrowing, or the organism keeps on multiplying these cells and hence the organism becomes bigger in size. Then vegetative propagation. In this method, we are using the vegetative parts of the plant for reproduction purpose. Now, if you think of higher organisms like reptiles, birds and mammals, we know all these are multicellular, advanced multicellular organisms. So, what is the property of the advanced multicellular organisms? That they do have an organized structure of the body. So, here the cells, they are divided into groups. Cells, they combine together to form a tissue. Tissues combine together to form an organ. So, here the cells or group of cells together, they are dedicated to perform a particular function. So, in the highly organized structures like reptiles, birds and mammals, the reproduction is also performed by some special cells or a group of cells. So, the fission, fragmentation and vegetative propagation method cannot work in higher organisms, because in fission, cell development will take place. But in higher organisms, just by fission, we does not mean that cell division of reproductive cells will only take place. The same is the case of fragmentation, because in fragmentation, the multicellular organism is having simple cells arranged in a certain manner and all cells are similar in functioning. So, just after the organism is dividing into several parts, again the main functioning of the cell starts, that each part which is having some cells in it will start multiplying the cells, and in that manner the organisms are formed. But here in the higher organisms, the specific group of cells or the reproduction system of the organisms cannot follow the processes of fission, fragmentation and vegetative propagation, and that is why these methods cannot work for higher organisms. Question number 6 is, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of sexual and asexual reproduction. So first, let us discuss the advantages of sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, the first and very most important advantages, variations that come because of the sexual reproduction. So here in the sexual reproduction, two different people or animal, they undergo the process of reproduction. So here the fusion of one male and one female sex gamete is happening. Because of that, the variations or the changes come in the heredity or the genetic information being transferred. So because of these variations, species will be able to adapt to the environmental changes, and this will help in better survival of the species. Then we have the advantages of asexual reproduction. So here, as we know that in asexual reproduction, only one parent is required. So that is also one advantage of it, that here only one parent is required. So time and energy efficient method. So here one parent need not to wait for finding the another individual to reproduce. So this is time efficient as well as energy efficient. This method helps in increasing the population very rapidly. Now let us see the disadvantages of sexual reproduction. Here, as two parents are required to reproduce, so it is requiring a lot of time and energy. One individual cannot reproduce. So here one individual cannot do the reproduction. In asexual reproduction, as only one parent is reproducing, so no genetic variation is there. Because of that, no adaptability to the environmental changes will happen. So that will not lead to a better survival of the complete species. Question number 7 is, how may inbreeding be harmful for offsprings? Inbreeding is basically a method of reproduction in which the organism, they reproduce the offsprings by mating or by making sexual contacts with the individuals which are closely related to the organism. So here you can try to understand in a manner that if one individual is making sexual contacts with his own ancestors or someone who is very closely related to that person, so in that case the reproduction that takes place is called as inbreeding. Breeding means to produce new young ones, and when inbreeding is called, it is the production of new offsprings by mating or by breeding with the very closely related individuals. So here you can try to understand it with an example, that if one male is mating or reproducing the offsprings by mating another female which is very closely related to him, that can be a sister or can be another closely related family member. So in that case it is called as inbreeding. But because of this inbreeding, homozygosity increases. What do you mean by homozygosity? this is a characteristic that because of the sexual contacts between the two individuals which are very closely related, so they will be having almost almost same sexual characteristics, and almost all the genetic information will be similar. So here the reproduction is basically going towards the formation of homozygotes. So no more variations will be there. So because of the lack of variations in the offsprings, there can be a decrease in the biological fitness of a population. So biological fitness here means that ability to survive and reproduce, that will decrease. So this is how inbreeding is harmful for the offsprings. It will cause the lack in the characteristics of the offsprings. Question number 8 is ejaculation of semen during the sleep harmful? In answering the question, first I would like to tell you what is ejaculation. Ejaculation is basically a process of ejecting the semen from male urethra. And here muscular contractions happen to eject the semen out of the urethra. So here ejaculation of semen during the sleep. So that is also necessary, that why the ejaculation of semen happens during the sleep. The reason is that after the puberty or in adolescence age, what happens that in the males there is a sexual desire, or while sleeping they have felt some sexual desires. Because of that, ejaculation of semen takes place. Because of the ejaculation of semen, the males can be awake because there are muscular contractions. But here you have been asked that is this process harmful? So children, this process is not harmful. This can happen after puberty, and mostly it happens in the adolescence years, but it can happen with any male in any of the age timings. But most frequently it happens in the age of adolescence or during the young age of the adult years. Question number 9 is masturbation harmful? Why or why not? Masturbation is not harmful, but it can be harmful if it is done in excess. So, first we should understand what is masturbation. Masturbation is a common sexual activity done by the individuals to fulfill the sexual desires or needs. Here in the activities, the individual finds the natural and safe way to feel pleasure by fulfilling his or her sexual desires, and masturbation is a safe process because here no sexual contact is made between two people. Masturbation also helps in releasing the built-up sexual tension. So masturbation is not at all harmful, but when one person becomes addict of masturbation, then masturbation can be harmful because doing excessive masturbation can cause lack of sexual feelings or desires while for the partner. So it can decrease the sexual desires between two people, but overall masturbation helps in releasing the sexual tension. It refreshes the mood and this is not harmful. Question number 10 is Draw human female reproductive system and describe its morphology. So, to answer this question, you are supposed to make the female reproductive system, and you have to explain the functioning and structures of each of its parts. This is human female reproductive system, and here while writing the morphology, you have to tell about the structures of each part and what is its major role here to play. So here we know that a female reproductive system has main 4 parts. There is a pair of ovaries, a pair of fallopian tubes, then here we have the uterus and a narrow passage from the uterus to the vagina. So this narrow passage is called as cervix, and this is the vagina. Now we know that ovaries, they contain number of immature eggs from the birth timings, but after the puberty the eggs, they start maturing one in a month. So either of the 2 ovaries will release one matured egg into the fallopian tubes. Other than this, ovaries, they do have a function that they produce the female sex hormones, which are called as progesterone and estrogen, which help in developing the reproductive organ of the female, and they also help in regulating the menstrual cycle along with the development of all other secondary sexual characteristics of a female. Then fallopian tube is a duct-like structure, and it is connecting the ovary to the uterus. So here when the egg is released from the ovary, the sperm reaches to the egg through this passage only. So sperm will reach here and will fuse together with the egg, and the fertilization takes place and the zygote formation takes place here in the fallopian tube. Then here itself the zygote gets divided into multiple cells and the embryo starts developing. So fallopian tube is basically called as fertilization site, and from here the developing embryo will go and connect on the inner lining of the uterus. Then we have the uterus. Uterus is a supporting structure where embryo gets connected on the inner wall, and the uterus is helping in developing the complete body parts of the new organism formed, and it will also provide all the nutrients required to the embryo. Then cervix and vagina. Through vagina, the injection of sperms into the female's body takes place, and cervix is playing a role of a narrow passage. So it provides the competition to the sperms also, that only competitive sperms can enter into the uterus or the further genital tract of the women. Then vagina is the orifice which helps in making a sexual contact between two people. Cervix and vagina together, they are also called as birth canal, because through cervix and vagina the completely developed baby takes birth. So this is it. We have done 10 questions of assignment. We will also discuss them in online class. The solutions will be provided on the EDQuack website for these questions. Thank you.